Hi Santosh, good morning. How are you doing?
Hey, hi Arun. Good morning. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. So my name is Arun Gopinath. You can call me Arun. I have an experience of 15 years, and then I've been working with TCS for about like more than 10 years. I joined way back in 2012, so it's been more than 10 years, and I've been working as a data scientist, data engineer, Azure, ML, etc. So these are one liner about me. Can you give me a very brief intro about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Arun, for that introduction. So, let me walk you through my profile. So, currently, I'm working with Microsoft, and I do have around 9 years of experience working with data-driven technologies, mainly focusing on data engineering pipeline. So, I understand that the role which you're looking is on the Azure Data Engineering pipeline. So, just let me give you a brief what I have worked for. So in Microsoft, we actually collect a lot of data that is coming from third party. Like we sell a lot of products in terms of Microsoft products such as Teams and the Outlook, and we
Santosh,
also
let me pass you here. Santosh, let me
okay.
pass you here. So
Yes.
give me very brief intro. Don't get into the projects right away. I want to understand all the tools and technologies that you have worked on, and then we'll get into the project. So first, can you tell me all the tools and technologies that you have worked on?
Yeah, sure. To start with, I have worked with
So
SQL. That's my
yeah,
primary skill, and
okay.
Python is my primary language, which we have used
And
for.
Santosh,
Uh,
yeah, sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you again. So whenever you said SQL, Python, etc., I want you to mention like SQL. I worked for like 7 years, Python 6 years, etc. So that
okay,
will
okay,
help me understand how comfortable you are in each of these
okay,
tools and
okay.
technologies.
Yeah. Thanks for this context and expectations. Yeah. So when I'm working with SQL, I would say right from my beginning of my career, 8 years in SQL, Python for almost 6 years, and working with Azure services and the pipeline creations, it's almost for 6 years.
Okay, good to know. And any experience in big data technologies, PySpark,
Yes.
Hadoop?
Uh, Yes, before jumping into the cloud pipeline, I was working with on-prem pipeline. So that is where I do have around 3 years of experience working with big data, Hive, especially on MapReduce and Pig. That is also something which I've experienced.
Okay, good to know. Anything else?
Uh, in terms of technologies, yes, yeah, I'm good with BI tools as well, where I usually do a reporting for our clients.
Okay, fine. Good to know. So when you say Azure, what are the like? Have you worked on Databricks?
Yeah, when we talk about Azure, right? So Azure it provides a lot of services, but what is really required for data pipelines, such as Databricks, we have used for heavy lifting transformations, Data Factory for orchestration, and in fact, for storage, we have used Azure Data Lake Storage and Block Storage. So these are all services which I've experienced with.
Okay, good to know, Santosh. So before we get started, I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 10 in SQL, Python, PySpark, and Azure as a whole.
Okay, SQL 8.5 out of 10,
Okay.
Python 8 out of 10, and PySpark or maybe big data technologies, I would say it's 7 out of 10.
Okay. How about Azure?
Azure, yes, I've been working with almost 10 to 12 services. I would say around 8 out of 10.
Okay, so you're more comfortable SQL. So let's start with SQL. I'll give you
Okay.
a small scenario. So if you don't mind, can
Okay.
you share your screen? Open
Uh,
Notepad and probably you can share your screen.
yeah, sure.
So let's get over with SQL, Python, PySpark, and then probably we can jump to Azure. So we shall spend more time on Azure. So let's spend quick 5 to 10 minutes on the other technologies. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Is my screen
Yeah.
visible?
So yes, I can see. Yeah.
Mhm.
So assume we have got a table wherein we have got two columns, country and daily sales. So
Okay.
now I
And
want you to
if you
write
don't mind,
SQL
can I
query.
make it down? Make it down?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. What is it? The table, country.
You can assume table name to be anything, and then columns are country and daily sales.
Okay. Day sales.
Yeah, okay. So
Okay.
now
Mm.
that's fine. Yeah, anything is fine. Yeah, okay. So give me SQL query to find out uh, country-wise total sales.
Country wise total sales. Okay.
Yeah, total sales made by
So.
each
Okay.
country.
So I can write select country by sales, right? And you mean to say that this is actually daily sales?
Daily sales, yes.
Okay. I can simply write select sum of sales. Yeah, I think this should work.
Okay, that's fine. But only small thing is you have mentioned it as D underscore sales and you're using sales. But that's totally fine. I understand. I understood that. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Thanks for the catch. Okay.
okay. Is SQL okay? I understood. You're very comfortable. So is SQL case sensitive?
Case sensitive. No.
Yeah, SQL is not case sensitive. Good. Okay, fine. We'll get moving. So assume now you have this table schema, right? So assume it is a pandas data frame now. Okay.
Okay.
Now same thing, same query, do it in Python.
Same query. Okay, in Python. Okay. So
Assume it to be
assuming that
DL.
NumPy, I mean, all libraries are pre-installed.
Yes, yes, you can use anything.
Okay. Okay. In that case, I will go with data frame, assuming that it is a country data frame, country data frame, and group by, and I can write D sales and submit and the df dot show. This should give me the answer in Python.
Okay, fine. And after doing group by of country, why to select D cells?
That's what I wanted as an aggregate function, right? So you want to get the total sum of sales. So for that, I'm using the column and I'm taking the aggregate function.
Okay, understood. Understood where you're coming from. But we have only one column as D cells, right? So is it really required?
Is it really required? See, if it is you're taking anything like count, in that case, would have been using as only one column. The reason why I've used this is you need to sum up the sales, right? So that's the reason I've written. Of course, you can write it in a number of ways, but this is something which I preferred so that we can easily get the column sales.
Okay, fine. So same thing in PySpark.
Okay, same question.
Yes, same question. Assume it is a Spark
Okay,
data frame.
okay. Okay, shall I assume that the Spark session is on all initiated? I'll
Yes, yes.
just concentrate on the code. Okay, so
Yeah.
in that case, I can go with Spark data frame. Go to Spark. Here also it's almost same, but I can see there is a syntax change. Group by country, and then I'll write sum first, and then I'll write sales. We can write it in this way, and in fact we can also use Spark SQL. By using Spark SQL also you can write within that SQL code. I think this should answer your question.
Yeah, yeah. Even using Spark SQL, anyways, you have written a SQL query.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's fine. You have anyways written SQL and both in PySpark also. Okay.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll move on to Azure. So this is where we'll focus mostly on. So as a data engineer, can you walk me
Okay,
through all your day-to-day activities?
okay. So
Basically, your
day
role as a
to
data engineer.
Okay, so when I'm talking about day-to-day activities, actually we are working on pipelines. When I say pipelines, we usually collect the data from different data sources that we get from third party, and we try to do a data integration, like we collect it and we make sure that we prepare a data warehousing system. But this is on a high level. But if you ask me on a day-to-day activities, we follow agile methodology. So we connect with the client on daily basis, trying to understand if they have any ad hoc request. Sometimes they comes up and say that we need to get XYZ table. So we try to work closely with the team, and we pull it, and we also give as an analysis. So day-to-day activities involves ad hoc requests, implementation of data pipelines, and also we work with some of the reporting tool where we report it to the end users.
Okay, so all the reporting, transformation, everything is part of your expectations, right? Your role.
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. So Santosh, I have your resume open. So pick any
Mhm.
project, preferably the recent project that you have done, or if that is not completed, if you are comfortable with some other project, we can do that. And
Mhm.
walk me through the entire process. I want to understand, like, what is your role there? What is the end objective that you're trying to solve? And also, most importantly, concentrate more on the transformations part that you have done. Okay.
Okay, sure. So I'll walk you through my
Yeah.
latest project, which I was working with the Dynamic 365 products. So what exactly as a Microsoft we do it? We sell our products to many of the clients. Like we do have the Dynamic 365 Outlook, Teams, and we have Yammer. All these are the Microsoft products, right? So we have different companies who are buying our products, and this data we get it from third party. Now, as a whole, as a Microsoft person, we need to find out how much of revenue it is getting generated from each and every product. But the problem here is we don't have a proper source. So that is where we have to collect all of the data sources, come up with a one centralized data ware system so that we can start building our analysis. For this, what we have done is we have collected the data from flat files, SQL files, Excel files, and majority of the data is coming from SQL Server. By using all this, we have moved our data from on-prem to cloud. The orchestration tool which you have used is Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory is responsible for moving your data. And before that, we also bring first to a data lake storage, making sure that the data is present in the cloud. And when coming to the transformation, right, Azure Data Factory is a code-free transformations. You may not get everything. For that, we have used Databricks. Databricks is actually a Spark cluster which we have initiated on the environment. And by using PySpark, we have actually calculated the complex logics. So now, specifically to
Okay.
answer your question in terms of transformations, calculating rolling 7-day sales, 14-day sales, average, and then fixing the number of products that is sold per year. All these are the calculations that we have implemented in PySpark.
Okay. So you use PySpark, not Python.
Yes.
Okay. Fine. Can you explain me how to optimize Spark jobs?
Optimizing Spark jobs, there are actually multiple ways. So if I want you to walk through by one, I would say we have a three types of data sets like RDD, data sets, and data frames. So depending on the use case, we can use it. And we also have persistent cache. So persistent cache are the two, I would say, unique features that Spark has. Wherever you feel like you are revisiting the code, you can go and persist, and we can save it as a cache as well. So that is something which we prefer. And also there is serialization plays a very important role. That is also something which we can decide in our configuration. Most importantly, nowadays every project we are using is a broadcast variables and broadcast joins. So broadcast variables and broadcast joins, it will make our work easier by storing the data in the node itself, so that it need not go and read from the worker node. That is also one of the use case. By using this, we can improve our Spark jobs.
Okay, understood. You have mentioned persistent cache, right? So can you walk me through what is the difference between these two?
Persistent cache, I would say, like persist in the sense it will go and persist within the disk. Like if you're like, let's say you're maintaining in a HDFS, it will directly go and persist and it will save that. If you say as a cache, it will say only in the memory. If I want you to tell this in a very layman term, it's like a RAM and ROM. You go and save within your
Understood.
hard disk, it's a
Yeah.
persist. You go and save within the
Okay.
memory, it's a cache.
Yeah, understood. So what is lazy evaluation in PySpark? In Spark, basically.
Okay, so lazy evaluation, I would say that there are certain functions which we use in Spark, which means that executions will not start until an action is triggered. So I mean, some transformations does not require execute immediately. Let me give an example. You have a data frame. In the data frame, you write it a filter, and then you again write some selected columns. So all this you need not display again and again. It will not even execute it. It will be just taking as a memory. And then when you're proceeding further, what exactly happens is it saves the computations and increases the speed. So because I'm not running it every now and then, it is also one of the optimization technique. By using this, we can organize the program into small operations so that you'll be getting the subsequent results. And finally, when you want to display it, then it will club it. Until then, it will not execute. That is lazy evaluation.
Okay, very nicely put. So now my question is, Spark is extremely fast because of lazy evaluation, right? And now you are saying you have used persist. So whatever the lazy evaluation concept that is there, that won't happen. So as soon as you say persist, it will persist in the disk, right? So why do you want to persist in the first place?
First place, we are not persisting, right? Like, let's say we are working with multiple transformations. This multiple transformations is actually stored in a temporary RDDs. I'm directly not going and dumping into the
Okay.
disk. So it is stored in the temporary RDDs. So finally, when I'm using the results, I can use this temporary RDDs and then I can club it. So that is how we usually do it for our heavy lifting transformations.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Good. Good. Nice answer, man. Okay. You have said RDD, right? So can you tell me the difference between RDD, dataset, and data frame?
RDD, dataset, and data frame are like three unique features, I would say, which we can use it in our system. So whenever you are working with a small transformations where you internally need your Spark to take place, in that case, we can go with RDD. RDD comes with a base code, and datasets, as all we know, is like a data frame. I'm sorry, datasets is actually like a table format where you can go and pull the data, CSV files, flat files, and then you can work as a whole. And data frame is specifically related to Python, where we pull it in a table format and we query it for our analysis. Now, if you ask me which is better, it all depends on the use case. For the low transformations, we can go with the RDD. For the table level transformations, we can go with data frames. And if you're loading any external files as a data, I mean, external files, we can use it as a data sets.
Okay. Fine. Okay. So if you have to write any custom functions, so how will you do it in PySpark?
Custom functions on top of my mind, if I remember, I can use UDF. So whenever if you want to
Okay.
do any repetitive task, we can go with UDF. UDF is basically user-defined functions, and this
Okay.
user-defined functions is basically used as a name itself, right? You write it once and you can use it as many times as possible, and we may not always have a built-in functions. I remember I've used one thing like we wanted to have in a specific date format that even your Python PySpark did not have the built-in function. They wanted to have in DDMY and then the time. So this type of format they needed, which we did not had as a built-in function. For that, we have written a standalone function which is called UDF, and we have used it for multiple methods.
Okay. Fine. Good. Uh, okay. So once you are in the team, this is what is expected out of you. So you have to do ETL jobs,
Mhm.
basically ETL transformations, and then once that
Okay.
is done, you will have to store everything in data lakes, and then data scientist team they will take care, like make use of this data, and they'll build different models. So your task here would be doing that ETL, and then once they build the models, you need to run that models. So basically, you need to schedule both these jobs. So can you walk me through how do you schedule and run your jobs?
Okay. So how do we schedule Spark jobs? Did you mean Spark jobs?
Yeah, you can assume Spark jobs. So have you
Okay.
worked on Airflow?
Yes, I worked with Airflow. And
Yeah.
but I mean, I worked with Airflow, but for not for the latest project. For the latest projects, the way we have scheduled is by using Azure Logic Apps. So Logic Apps is, I mean, initially it was Logic Apps, but now we have something called Azure Schedulers. So by using Azure
Okay.
Schedulers, we can execute the workflows, and we can also able to integrate and manage and monitor the services. But in the other project, I've used Airflow. So Airflow is like, which is again an product which we can monitor the pipelines, manage it. We can also connect end-to-end services, get to know that where we have missed the operation or where we got an error. That type of complete flow we can get to know, and that is again integrated with Azure. We have used that as well as a part of a different module.
Okay. Okay, fine. So you have mentioned pipeline so many times in your resume. So can you tell me how do you maintain incremental load in specific to pipelines?
Okay, so incremental load, actually, let me tell you why incremental load is required. Okay, so in our case, we had a problem. We had a 10 years of data. So every time the pipeline runs, right? So we cannot go and load every time 10 years of data, 10 years of data, 10 years of data, right? So we need to pick out, let's say, last 3 months or 10 months or 8 months, depending on the frequency of the changes, we used to do that. So for that, what exactly we have done is we maintain something called watermark column. So watermark column is, let's say for example, the last load has happened in the December, so we actually mark that down like 31st 12 2022. So we mark it with the date that has been loaded. So we come up with a watermark column, which is basically a timestamp of the last updated. So using this column, we can check what is a delta with the existing data. Delta means um, a minus b, just like a data set a minus data set b. By using this delta, we will get to know what is that in gap that has been there from last refresh to this refresh. That delta we can get it, only that we can upload as a part of a pipeline. So that is what is called incremental load.
Okay, that's fine. Can you tell me how is it different from auto scaling?
Auto scaling, you're actually dependent on the system configuration, right? So in system, what happens? We will not have control where to get the starting point or end point. So we need to go with a specific interval. So that's a problem with auto scale. But when we are coming up with our own watermark, it is easy for us to calculate. Because let me give an example. In this cycle, you have to get last 8 months sales. In the last cycle, would have been 8 months sales, right? So in this auto scale will find it difficult to adjust the frequency. That is why usually prefer our own watermark, which makes our work easier.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so yeah, let me ask you a few technical questions as well. So can you tell me difference between group by key and reduce by key? Have you used it?
Group, yeah, yeah, definitely we have to use this because this comes as a part of an optimization and the shuffling. So both reduce by key and group by key is actually a Y transformation, which means that it triggers a shuffle operation. The key difference between the reduce key and the group by key is that reduce key does a map site combine, and group by key does not map site combine. So usually the preferred one is reduced by key because that is one which gives you a better optimization.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. There are a lot of built-in Azure functions, right? So I'm sure you would have used Azure functions. So I don't want you to explain any functions in generic, but take any use case where you have used them and explain me that use case.
Uh,
Not
I'm
need not
sorry.
necessarily be in your current project. It could
Okay.
be your previous project. Just I'm looking at use cases to like if you have used Azure functions.
Okay. Actually, yes, we have used Azure functions. It's like a basically a trigger. So
Mhm.
whenever we want the code to get executed, right, based on some scenario, so let's say for example, pipeline. So you're running a pipeline on a daily basis means it's simply a cost, right? So end of the day, it's all about cloud. So it keeps on creating the cost. So what Azure functions will do is when only some scenarios or conditions is satisfied, in that case we can run this triggers. So in our project we wanted to run the pipeline when the file is changed. Okay, only the file is changed. Sometimes it may change in 1 year, sometimes it may change in 1 week, or sometimes it may change in 2 days. So only when the file is changing, that time you have to execute your pipeline. It doesn't make sense if you run your pipeline for all 365 days, right? So maybe your file may be changed to 5 times or 10 times in a year. Only that time you have to run a pipeline. For that, we have used Azure Functions. In fact, it is very useful in order to have an optimized cost for your projects.
Okay, fine. Can you walk me through data validation and data checking pipelines?
Okay. So when I say the data validations, usually what we do is, of course, it comes from the normal database solution. So we can implement something called error log table. So error log table at every activity we have it, and we also have something called exception handling, which is implemented in Python, especially in Databricks. So and also we have written store procedures. What exactly the store procedures will do is it will take two parameters, input and output. Input is like a source, output is a destination. So it will start comparing row by row, column by column. Any small special character also, let's say for example, a extra space, that will be captured in this store procedure, because the way we have implemented store procedures, it was going to compare row by row, column by column. So if it is matching, okay, well and good. If it's not matching, immediately that entry will be made to a error log table. As long every project they wants this error log table be empty. If something is getting entered, that means there is some error has happened in the data. So that is how we do a data validation.
Okay. Can you tell me what is broadcast?
Broadcast is actually a variable, I would say, and joins also is there. So broadcast join is Spark, I would say. If you want to join one small data with a large one, we usually go with a broadcast. So the reason is, sorry,
What you're explaining is broadcast joins. My
okay.
question is broadcasting. There is a process called as broadcasting. Usually, we do it in Python. So my question is mostly on broadcasting. Any
Uh,
idea?
I'm sorry, I don't remember right away.
Okay, so it is nothing. Usually, whenever we do any operation or any transformation,
Uh-huh.
so we want to do it in column by column, right? Not row by row, not each row. So that process of doing the entire transformation at
Okay.
column level is called broadcasting.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as
Understood.
you were explaining broadcast joins, right? Yeah, please go ahead and explain broadcast
Yeah.
joins. What is
So
what?
usually we all work with I mean normal joins, but we have something called broadcast joins. So this is usually preferred when you want to join a small data with a larger data. So usually what happens, Spark sends the data all the executors node in the cluster. So once this data frame is broadcasted, Spark can perform join without shuffling. So always we need to remember, the lesser the shuffling, better the performance. So by using this
Okay,
broadcast joins, we will be able to avoid shuffling, and that is something which makes our join faster.
okay, yeah, nice. I am mostly done, Santosh. So before we go, I have one last question.
Yeah,
So can you tell me, do you have access management controls? Have you used it? Do you have permission in your organization? Have you worked
access
on access
management.
management system?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Because end of the day, it's all about who can access your systems as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's a developer or it's a user, right? So end of the day, we need to give access. So in our case, what we have done is we have used Azure Active Directory. And also we have
Okay.
used access management, which is IAM. So we protect it by implementing this access, and whoever is entitled, we make sure that our their entry is made in this table. This is something which we do it, and we also safeguard it with access keys. So specific access
Okay.
key people only will be able to use our services.
Okay. Fine. Lastly, how do you troubleshoot if you get an issue in Databricks?
Okay. Troubleshooting, I would say that actually we need to find out like which part of the code it's taking time. So there are basically metrics called resource consumption time and CPU consumption time, and we also have something called disk usage. and shuffle memory. So all this, it's like we keep an eye on it. It's basically internally the tool itself will come up with something called log analytics. So it will come up with some charts and all. It will help us to understand which is taking more time and all. By analyzing this log analytics, we can usually understand the each job stage by stage. We can do a check, and by using a drill down, we drill downing this problem, we will able to execute investigate this execution of jobs.
Yeah. Okay, Santosh, I am mostly done from my side. So,
Okay.
any questions for me before we leave?
Okay. I mean, I just have one question. This role is really exciting. If you can help me to understand what could be the next steps, and I mean, is there anything like specifically a project-oriented role you're looking for, or is it a pool role which you're looking for? If you can help me, that will really be helpful for me to take a decision.
Yeah, okay. So you have mentioned all these pipelines and everything in your current job, right? And then you also
Mhm.
mentioned the data lake, etc. A lot of things, right? So it is mostly the same on the same lines. See, we have data, and then the data comes in different sources. You have mentioned flat files, SQL, everything, right? It's the same thing. So you need to do ETL part. So you need to extract and do all the transformations, UDF that you have mentioned, and then show it in the data lake. And then we have different teams, data science team, and then we have BI team, which they usually do all this reporting, etc. Then all this Power BI, Tableau, and then we once they do that, you need to schedule the jobs as well, so that you don't want to do this ETL process every day. Though data comes every day, you need everything must be automated. So that is where we require you. And then once the data engineering team, data science team does their modeling, and then you need to do it. Currently we are using Airflow. So yeah, you will your help is required on that part as well. And then the BI tools, right? It must be automatically refreshed as soon as the data gets refreshed. So basically, whatever you have been doing, so it's an extension of whatever you have done. So this is what
Okay.
is expected
Okay.
out of you. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much for this. It was really helpful for understanding the role. I mean, one last question. Just wanted to
Sure.
understand if you can share your experience working with TCS. That will really give an idea about the organization for me to just know more about your company.
Okay, so usually we don't get these questions. So, TCS is very well, so everybody knows about TCS. We are almost like 4 lakhs plus companies, and very employee friendly. So we have very good policies, medical insurance is the best in the industry, that we can say. And then you will be leading a team, and then there'll be a lot of people working around you. So, and then in this project also, we have got different teams that we can help each other out, and then managers and all this. The policies are really good, the HRs and everybody. So yeah, and rest
Okay.
everything, so we are a global MNC. We have presence everywhere. In India itself, we have our presence in almost every city. And then as part of our CSR activities, we go to rural areas, and we'll find talent from the niche people as well. So everything
Okay.
about TCS is in the news. So
Okay.
what?
Okay. I mean, maybe this could be a out of context, but I've heard from a lot of people that TCS is known for on-site. So is it really true?
Before that, I have a question for you. Where are
Okay.
country based out of?
Actually, I'm from Bangalore.
Bangalore. So, are you willing to migrate to Chennai?
Chennai. Okay, if there is a project need, I can.
Okay, so currently we have teams set up in Bangalore, Chennai, and Hyderabad. So, right now we are doing it's hybrid. So, we are doing work from home for a few days, and then sometimes we'll call you to office. So, that is where we are doing. And then on site, see, our client is basically a US client.
Okay.
So, we do have quite a lot of people working from the US as well. So yeah,
Okay.
so maybe if you prove your worth, you will be going on site. So as of now, no, I mean, I can't say anything. So it all
Okay.
depends on the department, and then
Understand.
how client.
Understand. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Actually, it was a very good
So do
discussion
you have
with you.
any on-site experience? We have visa.
Yeah, I have it, but I've not been traveled
Okay,
actually.
fine.
So I'm looking for an opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. So any other questions before we leave?
I'm good, Arun. Thank you so much. Excited for this role. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sir. Nice talking to you, Santosh. So see you.
Yeah, sure, Arun. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.